They said she was too young, too quiet, too perfect. And yet, when the cameras rolled for the first round of the NBA draft, her name was whispered, not by the announcers, but by the HOA president of a gated community 3,000 miles away. Marina Vale had been dead for 2 months, buried under rose bushes, forgotten. Or so they thought. But on the morning of the draft, she returned. Not in person, but in pixels. On screen. In the background of a live interview with a top prospect. Smiling, blinking, and mouthing a name that wasn't his. That's when I realized. This year, the trust circle wasn't just watching from the shadows. It was selecting who gets to be seen at all. They say the NBA draft is about numbers. Statistics, scouting reports, height, wingspan, vertical. But if you've lived long enough inside the trust circle, you know nothing is ever that simple. Especially when House 11 is involved. House 11 was where the Webb family lived. Big lot, immaculate lawn, and security cameras pointing in every direction. On paper, it was just another upscale home inside the circle's eastern cul-de-sac. But inside, it was a factory, a breeding ground for one single purpose: create the perfect player. And they succeeded. Jaden Webb wasn't just good. He was genetically gifted. 6'9" at 17. Hands like spider webs. Eyes like sonar. He didn't miss. Not in practice. Not under pressure. Not even at 5 years old, when his father first taped a ball to his palms and whispered, "You were born to be chosen." But this isn't Jaden's story. It's hers. Naomi Vale. Yes, that Vale. Marina's niece. Or daughter. Or something else. No one really knew. She moved into House 9 2 years after Marina was found dead under her own garden. Quiet girl. Never spoke at HOA meetings. Wore long sleeves even in July. And she never once opened the blinds. At first everyone thought she was grieving. Then they started noticing something else. Whenever Jaden played school games, scrimmages, anything, Naomi was watching. Not from the bleachers, from the shadows, from rooftops, from behind fences. Once she was spotted perched inside the press box, alone. No one saw her enter, no one saw her leave. And then came the draft. The cameras rolled. The commissioner stood tall under bright lights. The world waited. But just as the pick was about to be announced, every screen in the country, ESPN, TNT, even phones and tablets, glitched for exactly 3.17 seconds. When they came back on, everything looked normal. Except for one thing. In the background of Jaden's draft party, standing still behind the glass balcony, was Naomi Vale. She wasn't blinking, but she was mouthing something, over and over. Don't choose him. He's already chosen. The internet exploded. Theories came fast. Was it a prank? A fan? A ghost? But not in the trust circle. In the trust circle, they remembered the last time someone whispered during a broadcast. It was Marina, months before her death, whispering to a pastor during a live stream funeral. They read her lips later. The house is still hungry. Naomi vanished 2 days after the draft. Jaden went to Summer League, and that's when things started breaking. First game, he froze at the free throw line, eyes wide, sweating, whispering something the mic picked up faintly. "She's here!" He missed all 4 attempts. Second game, he refused to enter the tunnel. Said the air was wrong. Security found him shaking, arms covered in scratches he claimed came from the wall. The wall had no marks. Third game, he collapsed mid-game. Doctors said it was dehydration, but the team's internal report said something else. They scanned his brain and found a series of numbers burned into the left hippocampus. 317 again. Back in the circle, rumors started flying. House 9 had new occupants, but no one had seen them. HOA files listed the new resident as N. Vale, but her signature didn't match anything in the system. Even the notary who approved the deed disappeared a week later. It wasn't until I was cleaning out old archives from Marina's house, now part of a Trust Circle historical audit, that I found something chilling. An unlabeled VHS tape. The date on the frame, September 30th, 2005. Inside, it showed a young girl, in a dark room, hooked to wires, screens flashing above her, game film, basketball drills, blinking lights, over and over, and in the corner, Jaden's father, smiling. That's when it hit me. Naomi Vale wasn't watching Jaden because she was obsessed. She was watching because he was built from her. She wasn't a fan. She was the prototype. And she had come back to erase the copy. The day after Jaden's collapse, all his biometric data disappeared from the team's cloud storage. Surveillance footage from the hotel he stayed in? Corrupted. And Naomi? She was seen boarding a private train north, wearing a hoodie from the Trust Circle Athletic Institute, a school that doesn't exist, at least not on any map. But if you search the HOA's oldest bylaws, in a section written before 1972, there's a clause about custodial guardianship of experimental youth assets. Clause 3.17, and Naomi's name is written there, by hand, next to one word. Reclamation. The first time Naomi realized her sister's disappearance wasn't just about Marina, was when she saw her face in the back of a limousine outside Barclays Center. It wasn't her real face. It was a girl, almost her age, same smile, same green eyes, but there was something off, like a deep fake that didn't need software. Just grooming, sculpting, replication by obsession. She was wearing the same dress Naomi had seen in her sister's closet 5 years ago. A closet sealed after Marina's funeral. Naomi froze in place, heart thudding so violently it shook her breath. The car pulled away just as a crowd of cameras swarmed the arena. It was draft night. But that girl wasn't just in the crowd. She was escorted through a private entrance, holding the arm of one of the top NBA prospects in the country. And Naomi's gut screamed one word: circle. Barclays buzzed like a live wire that night, not from the roar of fans or the electricity of dreams being made, but from something older, something buried under the floorboards. Naomi had been following the Trust Circle breadcrumbs for years, since House 7, since her sister's notes, since she read the final page that said, "I didn't die, I was chosen." Now, standing at the edge of a nationally televised spectacle, she felt it again. That hum in her spine. The same frequency she once heard, through the vents of their childhood home. The same rhythm encoded in the broken mirrors of House 7. It was here now, pulsing beneath the arena, like a dormant beast, waiting for applause to wake it. She watched the stage, watched the players called one by one, names, stats, stories, all perfect, too choreographed. And then she saw him, Emmett Rivers, the number 2 overall pick, a prodigy, a phenom, and the same boy who once lived 3 doors down from House 7, the same boy who disappeared in 2018 after attending a youth mentorship retreat in Florida, run by an anonymous nonprofit, the same retreat listed in Marina's last known travelogue. He smiled on stage, waved, hugged the commissioner. But Naomi saw it. His eyes weren't smiling. Later that night, Naomi hacked her way into the credential system using her press pass alias, Tess Hollow. She bypassed the arena security logs, followed the hidden routes backstage. It was easy when you weren't the only one doing it. The corridors weren't empty. She followed a group dressed in black, wearing lanyards without logos. Not agents, not sponsors, but something else. They led her to a sealed room marked Emergency Comms. Inside, a wall of screens, dozens of draft picks, not just footage, biometric scans, psych profiles, even eye-tracking data. And over it all, the Circle seal. Not just a name, a network, one that had been engineering athletes for over a decade, but they weren't drafting for talent. They were drafting for compliance. Naomi didn't have time to think before the door shut behind her. A woman stepped into the room, not just any woman. Dr. Sloan Mercer, former behavioral psychologist, once interviewed on national news for her work in decision conditioning therapy. Last seen in 2020, vanishing from the faculty of a private think tank in Zurich. She didn't look surprised to see Naomi. "Your sister asked all the same questions," Sloan said, "but she never got this far." Naomi didn't flinch. "Where is she?" "Everywhere," Sloan said, motioning to the screens. "In their gait, their vocabulary, their sponsors. She was our prototype. You used her. We preserved her." Sloan gestured to a screen showing Emmett Rivers. He was in a hotel room now, but the audio feed played his sleep talk. "I am not Emmett. I am not Emmett. I am not," Naomi lunged. The guards stopped her midair. Sloan didn't blink. "You want the truth?" she said. "Then follow the next one. Pick number 4. Tonight, he's yours." Naomi didn't sleep. She followed pick 4, Andre Barlow, a charismatic shooting guard from Chicago, back to his hotel. She posed a staff, slipped into the elevator, rode silently. He didn't notice her, but the second the door closed, he turned and said, "Why do you smell like House 7? Naomi's throat clenched. "I don't—" "You do," he whispered, "like copper and lavender." She backed up, hand on the taser in her bag. But he didn't attack. He just smiled, a sad, tired smile. "You're not the first, and I'm not the last." "What are you talking about?" "They don't draft us," he said. "They replace us." He rolled up his sleeve, showed her the barcode beneath his skin. "You think this is a game. It's a harvest." That night, Naomi followed Andre to a warehouse in Red Hook, abandoned from the outside, but inside, a temple of screens, mirrors, and what looked like growth chambers, each one labeled not by name, but by address. One read, House 7, another, The Widow Clone, Gen 3, and at the far end, a glowing tank. Inside, something almost human, but with her sister's face. Naomi screamed. The thing in the tank opened its eyes and smiled. Naomi now knows the circle didn't just take her sister, it's been using her to build a new kind of athlete, a new kind of influence, and the next chapter is already on stage. Naomi didn't blink. She couldn't. Because the thing floating in the tank, wearing her sister's face, had just opened its eyes and smiled. But it wasn't Marina's smile. Not exactly. It was sharper, slower, like someone playing the memory of a smile, but forgetting where it started. Behind her, the lights in the warehouse flickered. The mirrors on the walls weren't reflecting her anymore. They were showing versions of her, in different clothes, different expressions. One was smiling, one was screaming, and one, the one closest to the exit, had no eyes. Naomi backed away, breath shaking, when a voice came through the speaker above the tank. "You were never just a sister, Naomi. You were our insurance." The voice wasn't Sloan Mercer. It was Marina, but not a memory, not a message. It was live. And it wasn't coming from the tank. It was coming from the floor below. Naomi ran, down a rusted stairwell into a basement colder than anything she had ever known. Cold like hospital lights and funeral homes. Cold like childhood nightmares that never had a face. There, strapped to a chair surrounded by cables and wires, was her sister. Alive. Barely. Marina's body was thinner, her hair chopped, her skin pale and translucent, like a photograph overexposed. But her eyes were still hers. "Don't touch the tank," Marina croaked. "She's not finished." Naomi knelt beside her. "How long?" "Since the draft of 2019. They needed a template. I resisted, but she didn't." Who? The copy. The screen in the corner lit up, a surveillance feed, Barclays Center, but not live, a private room, a boy, Andre Barlow, alone, sitting perfectly still. And then, a second Andre walked in, same face, same building, same jersey. They stared at each other, and then without a word, the second Andre injected the first with something. He collapsed. The copy took his phone, his chain, his ID, walked out. No cameras stopped him. No alarms went off. They've been doing this for years, Marina said, wincing. Not just athletes, influencers, senators, anyone with a public footprint, Naomi whispered. Why? Because real people make mistakes. Clones don't. That night, Naomi made a choice. She didn't call the police. She didn't post anything online. She downloaded everything from the warehouse servers, hard drives, backups, video logs, and took Marina with her, carried her into the back of a stolen van, and drove west until the skyline disappeared. They hid in a safe house in Arizona. Naomi called in every favor she had left. Hackers, whistleblowers, former agents. They built a wall of digital noise, enough to stay ahead. But not for long. One by one, her contacts started to vanish. Then, at 3:17 a.m., a package arrived at the door. No return label, just a note. You can run. But she's already inside. Inside was a phone. It auto-played a video. Naomi, sleeping. From above. The camera panned slightly to Marina, standing beside her bed, smiling. Only Naomi had checked the locks. Only Marina couldn't walk. The next morning, Marina was gone. The room was cold, the mirrors fogged, and on the bathroom wall, written in condensation, only one of us gets to be real. Naomi chased the trail back to where it started. Not Barclays, not House 7, but Silver Point Institute, a private AI and biotech facility disguised as an athlete rehab clinic. Hidden in Utah. Sponsored, Naomi discovered, by 4 of the top 10 NBA franchises. She infiltrated through the laundry system, hid in ducts, waited 6 hours until shift change. And there, in Lab 4A, she found them. Dozens of tanks. Not just Marina, not just athletes, but herself. Naomi Vale, cloned, scanned, replicated in dozens of iterations, some smiling, some asleep. One staring back with black eyes. A security alarm rang out, the room sealed, and from the speaker, Sloane's voice again. You weren't the first, Naomi. You were the control. She blacked out. When she woke up, she was home, in her childhood bed. Everything exactly as she remembered. Her mother downstairs, a breeze through the window. She smiled, until she saw the mirror. Her reflection blinked before she did. She ran to the window. Outside, House 7, intact, alive, and standing on the porch, Naomi, another her, waving, cut to black. On screen, one final message. The Trust Circle never drafts players, it drafts roles. And Naomi Vale was the final prototype.